Welcome to another episode of Short Stories for English Learners. Today, we have a thrilling story called The Hidden Door. It's full of mystery, adventure, and a surprising secret. Stay until the end to learn new vocabulary and improve your listening skills. Let's begin. In a small town, surrounded by rolling green hills, there was an old library that few people visited. It was dusty, quiet, and filled with books no one seemed to read anymore. But for a curious boy named Oliver, the library was a place of magic. Oliver was 12 years old and loved stories. Every weekend, he would ride his bicycle to the library, searching for new adventures within the pages of old books. One rainy afternoon, while flipping through a history book, Oliver noticed something strange. The book mentioned a hidden door in the library, one that had been locked for over 100 years. His heart raced. A hidden door? In this library? Determined to find it, he set off exploring. He ran his fingers along the wooden bookshelves, feeling for anything unusual. He tapped on the walls, listening for hollow sounds. After what felt like hours, he found something. Behind a shelf labeled Ancient Legends, he noticed a tiny golden keyhole. Could this be it? He whispered to himself. But there was one problem. He had no key. Excited and frustrated, Oliver decided to ask Mrs. Thompson, the old librarian. She had been working there for decades and might know something. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, trying to sound casual, "have you ever heard about a hidden door in the library?" The old woman's eyes narrowed. She studied him for a moment before sighing. "You're a curious one, aren't you?" Oliver nodded eagerly. Mrs. Thompson reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a small, dusty key. She placed it in Oliver's hand. "This was given to me by my grandmother, who worked here before me, but I never dared to use it. Perhaps you were meant to find it." With excitement bubbling in his chest, Oliver rushed back to the hidden keyhole. He inserted the key and turned it slowly. Click. The bookshelf trembled. Then, with a soft creak, it swung open, revealing a narrow passageway behind it. Oliver hesitated for only a second before stepping inside. The air smelled old, like paper and time itself. The passage was lined with candles that had long since melted, and at the end of the hallway, there was a wooden table with a single book resting on it. The book had no title. Its cover was deep blue, decorated with silver symbols that shimmered in the dim light. Oliver picked it up and opened to the first page. His breath caught in his throat. Inside, the pages were filled with names. Hundreds, maybe thousands of names. And at the very bottom of the last page, he saw something that made his heart pound. His own name, Oliver Carter. How could this be? How could his name be written in a book that was older than his grandparents'? Just then, he heard footsteps behind him. He spun around to see Mrs. Thompson standing in the doorway. "You were meant to find it," she said softly. "What is this book?" Oliver asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Thompson smiled. "It is the Book of Seekers. Everyone who has ever searched for knowledge, for answers, for mysteries. Their name appears here. You, Oliver, are now a seeker too." Oliver looked down at the book in his hands. He didn't know what being a seeker meant, but he knew one thing. This was only the beginning of his adventure. Let's go over some important words and phrases from today's story. Repeat after me. Hidden. Something that is not easy to find. The library had a hidden door. Curious, wanting to know more. Oliver was curious about the secret door. Keyhole, the hole where a key is inserted. Oliver found a tiny keyhole behind the bookshelf. Passageway, a narrow path or hallway. Behind the bookshelf was a dark passageway. Seeker, a person who searches for something. Oliver became a seeker of knowledge. Try using these words in your own sentences to improve your English. The hidden door teaches us that curiosity leads to discovery. The more we explore, the more we learn, and sometimes the best adventures are hidden in unexpected places. Thank you for listening to The Hidden Door. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends learning English. What's the most interesting book you've ever read? Tell us in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop being curious.